This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
It's been an unusual week in Washington and on the world stage. President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin stood side by side, met privately, and apparently discussed working together on topics ranging from Syria to cybersecurity. Details unknown to even high-ranking officials in the intelligence community and the Trump administration. The president discounted, then backtracked his statement on an intelligence community consensus that Putin and Russia interfered in U.S. elections in 2016 and are doing so again. And that's where we begin with Hayden Shamel. She is the 4th District nominee Democrat for Congress in South Arkansas and a little bit up into Northwest Arkansas too. It's kind of all over. You get the biggest district in the state, don't you?
I have a huge district, 33 counties.
How's it been?
It's been fantastic, phenomenal. We are on the road every single night meeting folks and, learning and listening to their concerns, and it's an exciting time to be in politics.
Well, everything I just set up there with the Trump-Putin week that was, I don't know if this is dominating on the campaign trail, but it is still a big issue, and Certainly. It is one that a member of Congress has to have a serious responsibility for. If you were in Congress today, what would your reaction be to this? How would you be handling your affairs?
Well, there's no question that Russia interfered in the 2016 election. And I think like many Americans, am very, very concerned that we have a sitting American president who defers to a foreign power when we know that 17 U.S. intelligence agencies have confirmed that Russia interfered in our elections. And I think ultimately what our priority needs to be is safeguarding the 2018 elections. I'll be on the ballot in November, and so it's personal to me that we make certain that we safeguard our democratic institutions and particularly our election process. There's a lot that needs to be done, and I'm concerned that Congress hasn't taken the adequate steps to protect our elections. And so I think that's what is on the forefront, of our minds as we go forward from here. But like you said, as I travel these 33 counties and meet folks, Russia's not the number one topic of conversation. What people are really concerned about are the everyday issues, the issues of lowering prescription medication costs, figuring out how they're going to pay for that, and also, provide for their families, education opportunities. As a teacher, I'm concerned about the fact that I've pushed students to get an education, and then they try to come back to their rural communities for job opportunities that just aren't there. Those are the issues that people are talking about, but at the same time, we cannot ignore the fact that our priority right now needs to be protecting our elections, and particularly in 2018 and in November.
Have you seen enough in what you've read, what you've watched on TV, that you think this whole connection with Russia warrants a broader investigation? Because there has been, particularly in the House, the Republican-led Congress has shut down some of that investigation activity. And I guess how do you stand on potential impeachment? Have you seen enough that you think it rises to that level?
I think Congress's job is to provide checks and balances on the president, and any time now would be good, Roby.
You have also, if you've been on the campaign trail, I know you're hearing a lot from constituents about tariffs and trade policy right now. I'm hearing a lot from folks about that. Do you support or oppose the president's effort to try to correct what he sees as imbalances in trade with other countries around the world?
Well, I'm the daughter of a farmer, Roby, and what I'm seeing is that states like Arkansas, rural states that depend on a rich agricultural legacy, are being punished under some of the decisions of this administration. So, for example, last year, soybeans, we harvested over 3.5 million acres of soybeans, and just in the decisions since this administration has pushed for those tariffs, we've seen soybean bushel prices fall by 20%. 20%. And that's a theme that I see over and over again. It seems like the voices of rural communities, of rural states like Arkansas, and rural America for that matter, are being ignored. And it's not just the farmers. It's the teachers, it's the business owners, it's the factory workers, and it's the people who are working minimum wage jobs, working 2 and 3 jobs. Their voices are also being ignored. So it's time that we return to a focus on rural communities and doing all that we can. And these tariffs just seem to be hurting states like Arkansas.
Are they complaining to you on the campaign trail? Because I have heard from farmers who have said, yes, it's tough, but this is the price we have to pay to not have Hillary Clinton as president. Does that surprise you?
It does surprise me to a certain extent, particularly when we know that the negative repercussions are affecting their livelihoods. And so maybe it takes those those repercussions really staring us right in the face to see. I'm just concerned that we've got to put Arkansas's interests first and the interests of our rural communities. And so we've got to do all that we can to protect our interests as a state. And this is concerning. It's concerning for economists as we forecast what's going to happen going forward. And we just need to, as I said, return to a focus on rural states like us.
One of the things you're going to hear a lot about between now and November, you're going to hear it from the Republican side and your opponent there with Congressman Bruce Westerman. You're going to hear it in all the other races too. Centers on the tax cut, the GOP tax cut that was passed about 6 months ago. Depending on your perspective, you can find good and bad in the tax cut there. Was that tax cut wrong?
There are elements of the tax cut that I do appreciate. What I don't appreciate is that what we've done is we put $1.5 trillion into the deficit with a focus on corporations. So we've got permanent tax cuts for corporations, yet temporary tax cuts for individuals. And like I said, the people of the 4th District overwhelmingly are hurting. We've got 1 out of every 4 of our people who are living in poverty. And when you've got a Congress who makes a decision to make tax breaks for the wealthiest of Americans at the expense of the poorer Americans, and then are going to turn around and cut programs that our people depend on, like our Social Security, that we put our hard-earned dollars into, that we've created a fiscal contract with the federal government for, that they should honor, that's where I'm concerned. When we start having to cut programs that our people depend on, like Social Security, like Medicare, in order to pay for a permanent tax cuts for the wealthy. I know, Roby, just like you do, that the way that we lift people up is not by starting at the top and expecting for those results to trickle down. The way that we help people is by meeting them where they are and lifting all people up. And that's what I intend to do when I'm elected to Congress.
Is illegal immigration, does it come up on the campaign trail? I know obviously we've had a month's worth of news around the family separation policy and everything that has gone on there, but just, I guess, in more general terms, do we see illegal immigration? Is that a big topic of discussion?
This is such a divisive issue, Roby. It's such a divisive issue. And here's what I believe on the topic of illegal immigration. We can have safe, secure borders, but we can do that without caging children and separating families. I'd much rather see my hard-earned taxpayer dollars go into increasing border security than spending billions of dollars on a wall that is purely symbolic and won't actually do anything to solve the problems of illegal immigration.
Mexico's going to pay for that wall, Hayden. That's what we've been told for about 3 years now. So.
Right. There's lots of things that we can do, but we need to push for legal immigration, a pathway to citizenship, and yes, we need to protect our dreamers. So I think at the end of the day, it's about what type of nation we want to be. Do we want to be a xenophobic, closed-off nation, or do we want to be an empathetic, inclusive nation? And I know what type of nation I want to raise my daughter in.
You support a path to citizenship for the dreamers?
I do. I certainly do. Okay. Yes, I do.
All right. She's Hayden Shamel. She's the 4th District Democratic congressional candidate. Good to see you again.
So good to see you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
All right. When we come back, small business still on the agenda, and we're going to talk tourism in Arkansas. Stick around.